Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the MADDOX Podcast. Today we're going to do a quick little podcast where we're going to talk about some spooky or kind of horror stories in real estate. I think mine's a little more on the spooky side. Horror stories, we could go all day probably, but we'll do a little spooky edition for Halloween. So Jay, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Drinking my green goblin juice, also known as my greens.
For you.
That's scary.
It is pretty scary. It tastes pretty good though. Okay, so my kind of spooky real estate story happened kind of when I got into real estate. I did a lot of short sales, things like that, and it was just such nobody knew what was going on in the market, right? So anyway, I had this seller and I had this house. And he was allowing his friends to come and party there, although he didn't live there because he was selling it and it was a short sale and blah, blah, blah. So I told him, I said, that's a huge liability. We cannot do that. We can't let people party, all that stuff. Anyway, so one night I kept getting these calls because my sign was out front and the neighbors saying, you've got guys in there. They're making crazy noise, they're partying. So anyway, I made that final call and I'm like, you can't do that. And he says, okay, I'll put a lid on it. We'll take care of it. I will let my friends know. Anyway, so the next day I went to look at the damage to see, what had happened to the house. And so we walk in the front door and it's already kind of creepy, right? Because it's kind of a rainy day, kind of a spooky day. And it's probably right around this time actually. And the house is empty except there's like beer bottles and things kind of laying all over the place. And I think there was like a couch in the living room, just like one couch or something. Anyway, so we're kind of walking through and we turn the corner and there's the kitchen and then the garage access. And we look in the garage and there's a mattress and there's a body laying on the mattress. And it was horrendous. Yeah. So what happened was the person partied too hard, and I guess, and I don't know why everybody left him, but everybody bounced, and he choked, I guess, in the middle of the night, and yeah. So that's the story. So we had to call of course, everybody to come take him to remove him. And this is why I tell my seller, you can't let people party in your house because it's a liability. So guess what? That house got a price reduction of about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, if I remember correctly, because we just needed to sell it quick. And yeah, it was pretty insane. Because at that point, of course, we have to disclose that there was a dead body in the house, right? Somebody died there. But it was pretty spooky to say the least. I felt like I was in an X-Files episode. Then, of course, we had to go back after and sort of, check on things and make sure things like that weren't happening again. But I think after that happened, I think he learned his lesson and didn't allow his friends to come over and party in the house. But anyway, so that's my spooky Halloween story. Of course, we can't disclose any addresses or anything like that. But anyway, so that's that. Do we have everybody back?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, cool. Okay, who's next? Katrina's got a really good one.
Oh, depends what you call good, but yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And our laughs are more of just uncomfortability because these situations are crazy.
Yeah, and of course, at the time they're traumatic, right? They're not, but 10 years later you can discuss them and it's not as bad. But it's real life. I mean, this stuff happens in real estate a lot, and people don't realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was referred to a home to speak with an individual about selling the property. And I went to the home, met with a very gracious person who essentially said that their immediate family member had passed in the home. Well, when I walked in, it smelled, I've never smelled death before, but if I imagine what it smelled like, it was that when I walked in the home. and the individual was a hoarder. So I'm kind of stepping all over things to just kind of sit down to even have a discussion about selling the home. So the smell, I'm trying to have the conversation and not cover my nose or run out, honestly. So she explains to me very calmly about the person's passing, who was the immediate family member. They were in a back room, passed away with the window open. Nobody knew that this individual passed, so they had been there for a while. In the meantime, the flies were laying eggs. And by the time the person was discovered deceased, I don't know if it was the paramedics, if it was the police, I'm not sure. And she's telling me all of this, proceeded to put Clorox over the body to apparently kill the maggots that were on the body. So I'm taking this information in, not knowing the history before, just trying to be as professional as I can, because she's being very calm, speaking with me about it, just telling me the story. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this poor individual. So she says, well, all of that fluid, including the body fluid, all went into the carpet, all went into the flooring. And she goes, come on and I'll show you. Come on and I'll show you. So I'm like, okay, we're walking up the hallway. As we're walking up the hallway, the stench is getting worse and worse. And then she tells me, there's a cat in here somewhere. And it was full of items. I mean, it was like an A&D, show. It was like hoarders. So every door we passed, I'm thinking like a cat is going to like jump on my face as we're walking like to the back room. So there's a cat in here, apparently somewhere. And sure enough, the carpet is still in there. It was pulled back. Here's the flooring, just as calm as day. She's talking to me. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. The smell was so bad. And so she goes, so what do you think? And I'm thinking, what do I think? I think I want to go home and cry and bathe myself in bleach right now. That's what I think. But I'm trying to keep it professional, try to keep it calm. So I said, okay, well, first things first, we're going to have to, clear all of the items out. You'll have to contact a company that comes and helps, clean situations like this up. Ultimately, the home did sell, and it was, and it was fine. But at the time, I was just not prepared for that, and I was completely mortified. Yeah. So long story short, the cat is great. The cat is safe. And once they started clearing all the items out, the cat was found and rehomed. So that's fantastic. Unfortunately, this poor individual, it was just the situation, rest in peace. The situation as it was, just nobody knew about.
For weeks, right? For probably weeks.
For a long time.
Wow.
And so that was a very interesting listing appointment, to say the least. Yeah.
Did they repair the hardwood floors?
Yeah. They all went in. I mean, they cleared out the home. The home was remodeled after that.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those where I just was not mentally prepared for all of that to be told to me so calmly.
Yeah.
By an immediate family member, and I'm just trying to keep it together to not have a whole like jaw drop moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Jamie,
well,
you have one. You have an interesting one about clients who are trying to get a good deal.
So I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this without being awful. Okay, so I had clients that wanted to see this house, and I look up the house and I noticed the price is very reasonable, very good deal. And of course, everybody's kind of questioning, this is a crazy time in the market. And I look up the confidential remarks and I see that it says somewhat of a warning, very gruesome death on the property, right? So it kind of piques my interest just because you don't see that very often. And one thing leads to another, finally end up doing some Googling work and find out that not only was there a pretty gruesome death, but a man ate his grandma, and I guess it was his sister, or maybe I don't know if it was his mom or sister, somebody found him in the process of eating his grandma and had to call police. And it took from what the article said, it took 4 police officers to restrain him and to literally pull him off of her because he was still continuing to cannibalize his grandmother as they got there. Obviously, a mental health issue, probably drugs of some sort. Obviously, probably drugs of some sort. Yeah, bath salts or something. But so needless to say, we didn't really have any desire to see that after. It didn't go much over asking from what I saw.
Yeah.
But there's a buyer for everything, so
there sure is. Yeah.
Somebody bought that home.
All, that's just Google. I mean, that's just public record.
Yeah, the agent kind of left it at that too. You have the information you need. You can figure out what happened here. Right. And so we did. And that was, you don't see that often.
You don't see that on HGTV, honey.
You don't. Yeah. We'll really have real estate, right?
Goodness. So short little story, but interesting to say the least.
Wow. Well, I mean, I do have another one that I just thought about, if you guys want me to tell you.
Yeah.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so I got a call, and this couple, they were a new couple. They said, hey, we want to buy the house next door to us. Can you come show us the house? And I said, sure. So anyway, I contacted the agent, and I went and, we went to the house, and there was nothing disclosed, by the way, nothing at the time. And I don't remember if it must have been officially on the market, but there was nothing in there that was disclosed. So anyway, so they lived next door. I met them. We walked into the property. It was very eerie, it was not the people weren't a hoarder, but they weren't clean. Okay. So we walk in the living room, carpet, and I had these really nice suede shoes on. We're walking in, and it looked like there was spaghetti all over the walls. And I was like, this is really weird, but didn't think anything of it. But it was just like food just thrown, right? It's really weird. So we're walking down the hall, and I said, I told the neighbor said, yeah, the guy that lived here was mentally ill and shot himself in the living room. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, I just walked in the living room on the floor, and and all the food on the walls, that's not food. Yeah. So you would think that at that time, and they were fine. They were like, we want to buy it. We knew him. He just had problems and shot himself. And I'm just like, wow. And I'm like Katrina, I wanted to go home and bleach, like bathe in bleach and not come out for a couple days because I was mortified the fact that I just walked in this house after this happened a couple of months prior. But anyway, and I finally, we figured out that's obviously what it was. They knew that's what it was, and I talked to the agent, and he told me. But it was a pretty it was very spooky, to say the least. And I think I was probably a little more traumatized by that experience. And than the first one I mentioned, but I think it's because in my mind I'm playing it in my mind after seeing it, and then your mind goes to weird places, and you start thinking about, oh my God, what actually happened? How did this play out? And apparently, he had been there for a couple of days also, but it wasn't as gruesome as Katrina's. But anyway, that was a pretty spooky experience, let me tell you. Yeah.
How did your shoes fare?
So those shoes, I never wore them the same way again. I brought them home and cleaned them. They were this really nice Cole Haan, like a beige suede shoe. And I was, I didn't wear them.
They didn't work.
No, because my mind kept thinking, you were walking over brains, in the living room. And it was just, traumatic. Anyway,
I would be up every night wondering if I brushed against the wall.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking it's spaghetti, right? It looked like somebody threw spaghetti on the walls, but who would do that, right? It was really, yeah.
You paint quite the picture.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So, poor Ian. Ian's on mute. Not even showing his face. He's traumatized and
Ian's vomiting right now.
Yeah, he can't sleep. Yeah. Amy, Lisa.
I wonder if Ian has anything for us.
I don't know.
No. Probably not.
A couple.
Do you really?
It's not real estate, but
That's all
it's
right.
real.
It's okay.
It's real spooky experience. When we were in grade school,
Yeah.
we have this what we call a celebration in our neighbor or in our location, wherein all of my childhood friends will, go house to house, sing, Christmas songs to each of the houses in our neighbor. And there's one house wherein I'm having goosebumps. Sorry.
Whoa.
So there's one house wherein it's really not empty, but there's someone living there. There was one person living there, but we haven't seen that person. And all of our parents that time told us that it was an old lady living in that house, but we haven't seen that old lady. So we tried one time to sing a Christmas song. All of my childhood friends were like about five or six of us. So we were singing, and then we heard moaning. It's not like sensual moaning, but someone like in pain moaning.
Ooh.
So we stopped singing, and then after a while, one of my friends saw both eyes kind of red, but it's not really, visible for everyone. But that person, that friend who saw those eyes, has a third eye, as what we call it. So I'm still having goosebumps. I don't know if I can continue this story, but
Wow.
after our friend told us that he saw those eyes, we were like, hey, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's scram. And then all of a sudden, all of us froze. We can't start running. And my friend told us, oh, I'm really having goosebumps. My friend told us that the the eyes that he saw are like, coming closer and closer to us. I don't know how. We don't know how, but he's the one who's telling us that story. So we can't we can't even move that time.
Wow.
And then we heard this. This is real. Sorry, guys, but when we started moving, our friend saw the face, and it was an old lady. So right then and there, we didn't know what to do. We started shaking. We started, crying. One of our friends
Whoa.
peed, peed his pants, and then after a while, we shouted. This is in Tagalog. This is in our native language. It that person or that friend of ours shouted, "Tulong." It means help. So we were shouting, "Help! Help! Help us! Help us!" And then after a while, the my friend, the one with the third eye, told us that the face is gone, the eyes are gone, and we right then and there started to be able to move, and we started running, and we went straight to our houses and told our parents about it. And one of my friend's parent told my friend that that lady already died.
Ooh.
So there, that's one of the spooky stories
Ooh.
that we experienced when we were kids.
Oh my gosh. That yeah.
So-
How old were you when that happened, Ian? How old were you and your friends?
We were in grade school. It was like fifth or sixth grade. So we're just little kids, having fun and all that. It just so happened that one of our friends, one of my childhood friends, has has a third eye. So
So
that's basically it.
what does that mean? I've heard that before.
It means he can see ghosts. He can see
Oh.
persons or people who already passed away. He can see every what do you call that?
Like a medium or
Creatures
something.
that
Yeah. Oh.
yes, like a medium, exactly, Jason. So there, creatures who should not be living with humans or anything in our world.
That is
Man, I don't know if
creepy.
I couldn't have friends like that if he just.
Ooh, that's creepy.
I
Wow.
wouldn't want to know.
It is. It was really creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I don't
Well,
want
I'm
to tell
glad you
any
lived
more
to tell
stories.
the tale. Yeah, I'm glad you lived to tell the tale.
You live to tell it. Yeah, that's right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well,
Amy,
anybody
Lisa,
else?
anything?
Yeah.
So this is not a real estate, but I was renting out a house that was built in the late 1800s, and my son used to tell me, who was about 5 at the time, he used to tell me that there was a man in his closet. And when I would walk past his room in the middle of the night, I would see his clothes, moving in the closet. And I didn't really think much of it. I thought, there must be a draft somewhere in the closet. Get off. And so one night I was sitting on the couch and my roommate was in the shower, and I didn't realize I was reading a book, and I saw somebody walk by just, in my peripheral vision, thought it was my roommate, which it totally wasn't. So I was having dinner at my mom's and was telling the story about how my son kept saying there was a man in the closet. And my adopted brother said, "Wait a minute, don't you live in this house?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "My family used to live in the same house, and my brother had Dominic's bedroom, and he used to say there was a man in his closet too." So
Whoa.
I used to tell my roommate, there's something here. It's not malicious, it's not mean or aggressive, but it's here. And he always thought I was crazy. And when after the shower thing and hearing that the other child saw the same thing in that room, I moved out of the house. My roommate thought I was crazy, so he stayed behind. And after I was gone, he said, "I can feel it." He said, "I 100% can feel it." He says, "I'll be, hanging out and feel a cold spot come through. He says, I can totally sense it's here."
Oh, wow.
So it was.
And they say kids are really intuitive with that kind of stuff. They can see a lot more than like adults can. We kind of grow out of it, but kids can feel and see things more than us.
Dominic didn't like whatever was in his closet, but I don't think he necessarily felt threatened.
I'd have a lease agreement. I'd say, how much is the rent? We have strong tenant laws here in California.
He was actually a real estate agent that I was renting from.
Wow.
And I only had a 6-month lease, so I left. My roommate stayed, no problem.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the ghost. The ghost has been there a long time.
Get the lease agreement
for
from the
years.
ghost.
Get the lease agreement for him.
That was Crockett. It was an old house on top of one of the hills.
Ah, okay.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one.
Yes.
I had a fourplex in Richmond that was built in the 80s, mid 80s, I think. And I had a tenant that moved in. They had a moving party and lots of their friends were there moving the things in as the day settled on. The woman was sitting in the living room with her partner, excuse me, and looked down the hall, and somebody stuck their head out of the bedroom, and she said, asked her partner, who's here? He says, no one's here. Everybody's gone. So that was just something that was really weird she told me about. Later, as it turns out, she had periodic episodes through her stay. And one time she was home alone, was in the shower and had her bathroom door open, and someone walked down the hall and then turned around and came back.
Whoa.
And she was home alone. Doors were locked.
Peace out. I'm out. Nope.
Yeah. Wow.
Nope.
So they did a little bit of research on the property and found that someone had been murdered, a young man. And she described this person. I mean, she described who he was, what he looked like. She said he had feathered hair, you know, what you think of like a 70s guy. White, feathered hair back, and found out that he had been murdered prior to the building being built in the area there.
Wow.
Nope.
So,
Prior to the building being built. Interesting.
yes.
So he was just hanging out in that area.
Well, that actually comes up a lot. A lot of people have issues with, you know, people that have passed in the home, and we tell them we're pretty much everywhere is burial ground. I mean, somebody's probably died in every single location, so that makes sense.
But I mean,
So,
I don't know much about this kind of stuff, but I guess
I'm not having multiple episodes. I'm seeing one thing and I'm out.
Yeah.
My house for sale sign up. Nope.
But I mean, I think they, you know, when somebody didn't peacefully pass over or whatever, and there's unfinished business, right? I think that's kind of when they hang out, and they don't know how to get over to the other side, right?
Yeah.
I think eventually they do, but maybe for years and years they just don't know how to do it, you know?
You know, I've never felt like I was sensitive to spirits or other beings, but I'm sure you guys would agree. There are times when you walk into a house and you just feel something.
Yeah.
You know, not sure what it is, but you feel that it's different.
Yeah.
And I worked with a client one time who felt the same way, and we both felt it about the same property. When we would go into a property, she said something's definitely going on here.
Well, energy is real. Yeah.
It is, and I don't, I'm the guy who's like, I don't believe whatever, blah blah. You know, I don't believe in that stuff. You know, I was at this house. I'm not going to mention any cities or anything, but I was at this house and it had a basement, like an old wine cellar basement, and I was by myself, and I don't usually get freaked out and creeped out and stuff like that. I walked down in that basement and I was very uncomfortable. It was like I wanted to get back up to the top where the light was really quickly. It was just very, I can't even describe the feeling, but it was just this like empty, weird, like I was gonna get trapped down there or something, you know. It was really awful, but I don't know if it's, you know, just my brain. Obviously it's my brain just being weird, but you know, or something that happened in a past life. I don't know, or, you know, I'm not sure, but it was pretty creepy. And that was probably my first time feeling like that. Even over the dead body thing, you know?
Yeah, energy is very real. Just like when you walk into a house and it has a really good energy, you know, you can feel that too.
You can feel it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to add is, you know, right now there's all of these Airbnbs, these destination rentals. If you have a haunted house, we 100% can turn it into an Airbnb and market it.
That's right.
That's true.
People love that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, not for me, but for people.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
me, I'll sell it.
Well, this is fun. This is fun talking about some creepy stuff. You know, it's always, real estate isn't always just you know, a beautifully staged house. There's stories, right? There's stories behind every home. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. All right.
Happy Halloween, y'all.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.